Commanders fans, welcome back to the channel. Let me start by saying this. Every single day, this team is working to get better. Dan Quinn and Adam Peters are pushing the roster to be sharper, tougher, and more united because the goal is simple: bring real results to Washington. That's why we're here at Commanders HQ, keeping you locked in on everything happening with our team. So if you love this squad as much as we do, make sure to smash that like button right now and subscribe so you don't miss a single update. Now, let's dive into today's big story, because it's a mix of tough news, opportunity, and history coming full circle. After last week's loss to the Green Bay Packers, the Commanders suddenly find themselves dealing with adversity on multiple fronts. On offense, Austin Ekeler tore his Achilles, ending his season before it really began. And even more concerning, Jaden Daniels is battling a knee sprain that has left his Week 3 status very much in doubt. But today's focus is on the defense, because this unit, the very backbone of what Dan Quinn wants this team to be, just lost a major piece. Starting defensive end Dietrich Wise Jr., one of Washington's most important free agent signings, suffered a season-ending quad tear. For a defense that has been built on versatility and depth, this is a serious blow. So now the question becomes, who steps up? Who fills that spot in a defense designed to apply relentless pressure and create chaos for opposing quarterbacks? Initially, the Commanders were left with 7th-round pick Javonte Jean-Baptiste and veteran journeyman Jacob Martin as the only extra bodies at defensive end. Not exactly the depth you want when you've just lost a starter, but to their credit, the front office acted fast. Washington promoted Jalen Holmes from the practice squad and then made a move that immediately had fans buzzing, bringing back an old friend, Preston Smith. That's right, Preston Smith, a former 2nd-round pick of Washington back in 2015, is back in burgundy and gold. And for longtime fans, this name carries weight. Smith had 4 productive seasons in Washington, racking up 24.5 sacks before leaving for the Green Bay Packers, where he enjoyed his best years, including a 12-sack season in 2019. He later landed with the Steelers, but now, after almost a decade away, he's back where it all started. Now, let's be real. This isn't 2019 Preston Smith. He's older, he's adjusting to a new scheme on the fly, and it's not a lock that he'll start right away. In fact, with such short notice, it wouldn't be a surprise if Week 3 belongs to someone like Holmes or Jean-Baptiste. But make no mistake, having Smith in the locker room adds experience, leadership, and a familiarity with Washington that cannot be overlooked. Still, this is where things get interesting. Dan Quinn has options, and that's exactly what he thrives on. Jacob Martin could shift over from the opposite side of the line where he's been backing up Durance Armstrong. Johnny Newton and Javon Kinlaw, typically interior guys, could see extra snaps on the edge. Dan Quinn has never been afraid to move pieces around to keep the pressure coming. And this situation may call for a committee approach, with Smith, Martin, Holmes, and Jean-Baptiste all rotating until somebody seizes the job outright. That's what makes this storyline fascinating. It's not just about replacing Wise, it's about seeing who takes advantage of the opportunity. For younger players, like Jean-Baptiste, this could be the chance to prove they belong in the NFL. For veterans like Smith, it's a shot to show they've still got gas in the tank. And for Dan Quinn, it's another chance to put his coaching reputation to work by maximizing talent and keeping this defense humming despite the loss of a starter. Of course, we can't ignore the elephant in the room, Jaden Daniels. ESPN's Adam Schefter dropped some telling news this week, saying it would not be a surprise if Daniels is ruled out for Sunday's matchup with the Raiders. Daniels hasn't practiced for 2 straight days, and the Commanders have made it clear they want him to absolutely be himself before stepping back on the field. That cautious tone speaks volumes. It suggests Washington is leaning towards sitting their star quarterback and turning to Mariota for Week 3. And honestly, that's the smart play. We've seen what happens in this city when a young quarterback is rushed back too soon. We don't need another RG3 situation where one bad decision changes the course of a career. Daniels is the future. Protecting him is non-negotiable. So as Washington figures out its defensive rotation without Wise, it may also have to rally around Mariota for at least 1 week. That's a double challenge, but it's also a test of resilience. This roster has been built with depth in mind. This is exactly why you have veterans like Mariota. This is why you bring in players like Preston Smith. It's about being able to adapt when the season throws curveballs at you. Now, what does this mean for the Week 3 matchup against the Raiders? Well, let's be honest, Las Vegas isn't exactly striking fear into anyone right now. They're coming off a short week, playing on the road, and they just got embarrassed by the Chargers. Geno Smith threw 3 interceptions, Brock Bowers was invisible, and their offense looked completely out of sync. If there's ever a time to test your depth and win without your QB1, this is it. The Commanders' defense, even without Wise, should still be able to create problems for the Raiders' offense. The scheme is built for flexibility, and Dan Quinn has shown he knows how to get the best out of whatever pieces he has. And offensively, Mariota doesn't need to be a hero. He just needs to manage the game, avoid turnovers, and let playmakers like Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, and Ben Sinnott do the heavy lifting. With Laramie Tunsil anchoring the left side, there's no excuse for this unit not to move the ball. On Monday, the Commanders officially signed wide receiver Chris Moore to the 53-man active roster, moving him up from the practice squad. Now, at first glance, some people might shrug this off. A practice squad receiver getting promoted, what's the big deal? But if you've been paying attention, you know this is exactly the kind of under-the-radar move that can make a real difference during an NFL season. Let's rewind to Week 1. Washington was taking on the Giants, and in a game where every big play mattered, Chris Moore stepped up. He was only targeted once, but he made that one target count, hauling in a beautiful 34-yard reception downfield. It was the kind of play that flips momentum, the kind of play that makes coaches sit up and say, we might have something here. And now, after that showing, the Commanders are rewarding him with a permanent roster spot. For those who don't know much about him, let me give you the quick rundown. Chris Moore has been in the NFL since 2016. He's not some rookie learning the ropes. This guy is an 8-year veteran who's seen about everything. He suited up for the Houston Texans, Tennessee Titans, and Arizona Cardinals before landing here in Washington. Over his career, Moore has caught 139 passes for 1,744 yards and 11 touchdowns, plus more than 1,100 return yards on special teams.
In other words, he's not just a depth body. He's a proven player who can bring real value in multiple phases of the game. That's huge for a roster like ours, especially with the injuries we've been battling. Think about it. Austin Eckler is out for the season with an Achilles injury. Dietrich Wise Jr. is gone with a torn quad. Both of those injuries forced Washington to shuffle things around on offense and defense. And while those specific moves didn't directly affect the wide receiver room, they remind us just how important depth is. The NFL season is a grind. You can't get through it with just your stars. You need role players who are ready to step in and make something happen when called on. That's where Chris Moore fits. Now let's talk about what he actually brings to the field. First off, versatility. This isn't a guy who can only line up in one spot or only run one type of route. Moore can line up outside and stretch the field vertically. He can slide into the slot and find soft spots in coverage. And on top of that, he can handle return duties on special teams. That kind of flexibility is pure gold for a coaching staff because it gives them options. It keeps defenses guessing, and it means that one injury or one defensive adjustment doesn't throw the whole plan off balance. Second, Moore brings veteran savvy. We already know the Commanders have their top 3 receivers in Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, and Jahan Dotson. That's a strong group, no doubt. But every receiver room in the league needs that next man up. The guy who might not get the headlines but can step in, do the dirty work, and make a big play when defenses are keying on the stars. Moore has been that guy before, and now he has the chance to be that guy for Washington. And let's be honest, this offense could use an extra spark right now. Through the first 2 games, rhythm has been an issue. Slow starts, missed opportunities, drives that stall out too quickly. That's where someone like Moore can make an impact. All it takes is 1 or 2 plays, a deep shot downfield, a big return, a clutch third down catch, and suddenly the entire energy of the game changes. That's what he brings. I'll also point out something that may not show up on the stat sheet, but is absolutely vital. Special teams. Fans don't always pay close attention to it, but having a reliable veteran who can contribute there is a game changer. It means your roster doesn't have to sacrifice one spot for a guy who can only do one thing. Moore adds value all across the board. Now, of course, this move doesn't mean Moore is suddenly going to be the #1 target or put up 100 yards a game. That's not the expectation. But what it does mean is that Washington has one more proven weapon at their disposal. One more player who has shown he can step in, make plays, and give Jaden Daniels or Marcus Mariota, depending on who's under center this week, an extra option when they need it. And in the bigger picture, this is exactly the kind of smart, calculated move that Adam Peters and Dan Quinn have been making since they took over. It's not flashy. It's not going to dominate the national headlines. But it's the kind of roster decision that makes a difference in November and December, when injuries pile up and depth gets tested. So here's where I land, Commanders fans. The Dietrich Wise injury hurts, no doubt. It creates a vacuum that won't be filled overnight. But it also creates opportunity. For Jean-Baptiste, for Holmes, for Martin, and yes, for Preston Smith to potentially write the perfect second chapter of his Washington career. Meanwhile, the Daniels situation underscores the importance of patience. This team is building something real, something sustainable. That means protecting your franchise quarterback at all costs, even if it means leaning on a backup for a week. Washington has the pieces to get it done. And if they can handle business against the Raiders, it will prove this is a roster built to weather storms, not crumble under them. But as always, I want to hear from you. Commanders fans, who do you think should step up and take over Dietrich Wise's starting spot? Do you believe Preston Smith can still be an impact player at the stage of his career? Or is this the time for a young gun like Javonte Jean-Baptiste to seize the opportunity? And on the quarterback front, should Washington sit Jaden Daniels no matter what? Or do you think he should play if he's cleared? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let's get this conversation going. And while you're here, don't forget, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and join the HQ family as we keep breaking down every twist and turn of this season. This is just the beginning, Commanders fans. The adversity is real, but so is the fight. And if this team continues to grow, continues to protect its future, and continues to seize opportunities when they come, the results we've all been waiting for aren't far away.